Recording in progress. Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Good morning, honorable members, and welcome to all of you who have logged into this virtual mini-plenary session. There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Thank you, honorable members. Before we proceed, I would like to remind you that the virtual mini-plenary is deemed to be in the precincts of Parliament, and it constitutes a meeting of the National Assembly for debating purposes only. In addition to the rules of virtual sittings, the rules of the National Assembly, including the rules of debate, will apply. Members enjoy the same powers and privileges that apply in a sitting of the National Assembly, and members should equally note that anything that is said on the platform is deemed to have been said to the House and may be ruled upon. All members who have logged in shall be considered to be present, and you are requested to mute your microphones and only unmute when recognized to speak. The microphones are very sensitive and it will pick up noise, which may disturb the attention of other members. When recognized to speak, please unmute your microphone, and where connectivity permits, connect your video. Members may make use of the icons on the bar at the bottom of their screens, which has an option that allows a member to put up his or her hand to raise a point of order. The Secretariat will assist in this regard. When the virtual system is being used, members are urged to refrain or desist from unnecessary points of order or interjections. Lastly, I wish to remind you that we are meeting in a mini-plenary session, and therefore any decisions will be taken in a full plenary session of the Assembly. The first order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Standing Committee on Finance and Oversight visit to Itala, SOC Limited. I now recognize the Honorable Dr. Mashwangani, who will introduce the report. Honorable Mashwangani. Honorable Mashwangani, can you just unmute your microphone, please?
Okay. Thanks, Chairperson and honorable members. Can you please allow me to switch off the video? The connectivity is quite bad here at the parliamentary village.
No, that's good. You can go ahead, Honorable Dr. Mashwangani.
Okay. Thanks very much, Chairperson, honorable members. The committee, Standing Committee Finance undertook an oversight visit to Itala in Durban from the 3rd to the 4th of September 2024. The purpose of the visit was to engage with Itala regarding the notice to suspend its operations by the financial FSCA, that's the Conduct Authority. Itala's roots date back to the establishment of the Itala Development Finance Corporation in 1958. Itala provides banking services to the underserved and rural communities, for example, outlying areas of Ingwavuma and other rural areas of KwaZulu-Natal. It operates 38 physical branches in KZN. Itala is owned by the government of KZN. When we undertook an oversight visit to Itala, it was because there were challenges. While Itala demonstrates strength in liquidity and funding stability, its profitability, high non-performance loans, and increasing costs relative to income are areas that require attention. Itala has historically operated under a statutory exemption granted by the Prudential Authority, which is an entity of the South African Reserve Bank, which allowed it to function as a banking institution. In this regard, Honorable Chairperson, we are making recommendations to make sure that Itala is in a good state of health. The committee recommends that the shareholder, thus the KwaZulu-Natal government, provides the necessary cash injection. The committee recommends that the National Treasury, FSCA and PA work closely with Itala to resolve the governance challenges. The KZN government and National Treasury should assist Itala with the turnaround strategy. In conclusion, the committee recommends that Itala must improve its corporate governance structures by appointing competent and experienced leaders in the board and in the management. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
No, thank you, Honorable Member. The next speaker is the Honorable Bateman.
Thank you, House Chairperson, and greetings, honourable members. So, strictly speaking, Itala is not a bank, but for decades, Itala was permitted to operate like a bank under an exemption in the Banks Act. And this exemption expired in December last year, and Itala was required to stop taking on new deposits, and this plunged it into a crisis. As the chair of the Standing Committee said, Itala has traditionally provided banking services to underserved and rural communities in KwaZulu-Natal.
Honorable Bateman,
Yes.
may I request you to switch off your video, please? May I
Certainly.
request you to switch off your video because the feed is not good. Thank you.
Okay. Should I start again or repeat anything that I've said, or should I just continue, Chair?
No, I think you can start again, Honorable Member. Just start again.
Okay. Thank you, House Chairperson and honourable members. Itala is not a bank. However, for decades, Itala was permitted to operate like a bank under an exemption in the Banks Act. This exemption expired in December last year, and Itala was required to stop taking on new deposits, plunging it into a crisis. Itala has traditionally provided banking services to underserved and rural communities in KwaZulu-Natal, including home financing on communal land without title deeds. This offering is important in a province like KwaZulu-Natal, where 5.2 million people reside on communal land. Despite this, Itala's total client base is only 320,000, which is a small fraction of its potential target market. It is of concern that Itala runs at a loss, and its losses have been deepening. It incurred a loss of 92 million rand for its most recent financial year. And this cost will ultimately be borne by the KwaZulu-Natal province, which has been effectively bailing it out with capital injections. It's injected about R500 million into Itala so far, and it will quite possibly be R1 billion before Itala reaches profitability. To bail or not to bail? That is the question. And excuse the reference to Hamlet there, but we'll come back to that in a moment. Now, the Prudential Authority is an oversight body, and its mandate is primarily to safeguard depositors' funds. The authority has raised various supervisory concerns with Itala over many years, affecting governance, systems, risk management, compliance, and profitability. The decision to let the exemption expire was the final step at the end of a lengthy period of engagement. At this stage, it remains unclear whether ending the exemption has achieved its primary purpose of safeguarding depositors' funds. Instead, this decision has precipitated significant uncertainty for customers and employees, and it's also eroded the value of a state asset. One is tempted to question if the PA could not have agreed on a plan to address its concerns with the KwaZulu-Natal government in advance. That said, it's not the role of Parliament to pronounce a verdict on incomplete information. The respective organs of government must be allowed to perform their respective functions. What is clear, however, is that trust has broken down between the parties, and a string of lawsuits is playing out. Like a messy divorce, no one is talking and no one is winning, except the lawyer. And this clearly must change. There are various options that have been put on the table, such as obtaining a commercial bank license, introducing a commercial bank to assume responsibility for the deposits, and converting Itala into a mutual bank. For the sake of the employees and their families, we trust that all parties will expend themselves to find a workable solution. One thing, however, that should not be an option is extended government bailouts to prop up a perpetually loss-making operation. It is not and should never be the function of the state to operate retail banks. It's always easier to ask for a bailout than to make the tough choices sometimes required for an enterprise to stand on its own 2 feet. And while commercial banks must be efficient to survive, state-owned banks perpetuate inefficiency. Their products and services lag behind commercial banks because they're not required to innovate and to excel in order to survive. Digital technology has made banking more efficient over the past 30 years, and it has provided consumers with ever-growing possibilities. But if government operates retail banks, it creates unfair competition in the marketplace, which drives away competitors and ultimately reduces the options that are available to consumers. And in closing, we must remember that the greatest victims of government bailouts for state-owned companies are the poor. Over 500 billion was squandered on SOE bailouts in the 9 wasted years. This plunged South Africa into a debt crisis, which crowded out frontline services, choked economic growth, and cost us so many jobs. This is why opposing government bailouts for state-owned enterprises is a pro-poor position. Bailouts rob the poor of essential services and jobs. And this is why the Democratic Alliance is the party that offers the poor of South Africa the greatest hope of a better life, a hope that's rooted in fiscal responsibility, a growing economy, and the creation of new jobs. Thank you, House Chairperson.
Well, thank you, Honourable Member. Is there a speaker from the MK Party?
Yes, House Chair.
Please proceed, Honourable Van Rooyen.
Thank you very much, Chair. A good morning to all in attendance. Allow me, Chairperson, to start by welcoming the recent High Court of South Africa, the KwaZulu-Natal Division, decision to dismiss Johannes George Kruger repayment, who is the repayment administrator appointed to attend to the matter of Itala, who out of greed and expediency requested to take full control of the management of Itala. The court decision confirms the MK Party call to maintain Itala's bank integrity and further emphasize how Kruger's presence as the repayment administrator has caused more harm than good to the bank. We are also excited by the court decision to order Mr. Kruger to pay the cost of the failed application, including the cost of 3 consent. And this is, of course, aligned with the committee recommendation 13.6 about the repayment administrator. MK Party remains steadfast in its call for the amendment of the Financial Matters Amendment Act, as well as the Banks Act. This ruling vindicates MK Party, and we emphatically support the need to urgently transform the financial services sector. Itala Bank is a cornerstone institution for urban and rural communities in KwaZulu-Natal. The MK Party, therefore, calls on the Prudential Authority to grant the bank a new exemption under Section 1 of the Banks Act of 1990. The MK Party will continue the pursuit for the systemic transformation of the financial sector in a bid to guarantee equitable banking for all citizens. And as such, we continue to call for the agent registration and licensing of provincial mutual banks such as Itala into full banking institutions. We will not rest until our people in marginalized communities across KwaZulu-Natal and the rest of the country have access to banking institutions that appeal to their unique needs. Chairperson, it is important to bring to the attention of the nation, especially our people in KZN, that on the first day of our scope visit, both National Treasury and Reserve Bank team could not attend the oversight engagements. All this happened after they have officially confirmed their attendance. A very controversial letter penned on the eve of our visit was apparently sent to the committee chairperson by the minister, stating security concerns of officials. The minister's instruction was the most bizarre and weird, sending a wrong message of a coalition government that can't trust its own constituents and security agencies. It further exposed the minister's lack of appreciation of the Reserve Bank independency from National Treasury, which continues to act as a super ministry. As MK Party, we support this oversight report. And once more, Chairperson, let me remind all in attendance that those of you who will be able to make their way to Durban on the 15th of December, Moses Mabhida Stadium, you are more than welcome. Come and join us as we celebrate our first anniversary as a very nice and political party in the political landscape of our country. I thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is from the EFF.
Thank you, House Chairperson. House Chairperson, we in the EFF have indicated that despite being crucial to the people of KwaZulu-Natal, there's an aggressive push by some in National Treasury and the South African Reserve Bank to undermine ITAL. When we raised these concerns, even before the suspension of the financial service provider by the Financial Sector Conduct Authority, we had already noted what appeared to be a very hostile attitude towards ITAL by the Prudential Authority. The reality is that those within the National Treasury and the Prudential Authority do not want ITAL to continue operating because, as things stand, this great institution for the people of KwaZulu-Natal is proof that the state must establish banks in rural areas and townships. ITAL is being targeted for ideological reasons. It is an anti-state-owned bank attitude that has caused the problems for ITAL. We said the same about VBS. Despite the evidence, and while we are satisfied that some individuals are now rotting in jail, there was no intention by the Reserve Bank to intervene and rescue VBS, leaving it in the hands of Black people. The challenge we face with the untransformed financial services sector is that they are unwilling to extend banking services to rural areas. When they do, they charge exploitative fees and impose enormous interest rates simply because you live in spaces like Umhlanga or Jozini. Once again, we call on the South African Reserve Bank together with the Prudential Authority to sit down and devise a strategy to ensure that ITAL obtains a full banking license soon. Chairperson, we appreciate that you called out the leadership of the National Treasury, the Reserve Bank, the Central Bank, and the Financial Sector Conduct Authority for failing to attend the special oversight meeting. In this, I refer to the Chairperson of the committee, House Chair. ITAL must be granted a license, and we must establish more such institutions. We call for more initiatives, management and vision orientated to ensure that state controls and manages the financial sector in South Africa. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Adebe from the IFP.
Thank you, House Chairperson. House Chairperson, the IFP strongly supports the urgent efforts to save ITAL, an institution with a deep-rooted history in providing banking and financial services to historically disadvantaged communities in KwaZulu-Natal. ITAL was established as a financial vehicle to empower communities that were excluded from traditional banking systems during apartheid. Its role in promoting economic development, supporting small businesses, and fostering financial inclusion has been instrumental in shaping the province's economy. Under the leadership of the IFP founder, the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, ITAL played a crucial part in driving the vision of economic self-reliance and empowerment for the people of KwaZulu-Natal. The IFP recognizes the importance of ITAL in the socio-economic landscape of the province and acknowledges its impact on improving the lives of many South Africans, especially in rural and underserved areas of KwaZulu-Natal. The IFP believes that ITAL's continued existence is essential not only for financial inclusion, but also for the broader economic empowerment of South Africa's most marginalized communities. We stand in strong support of the committee's recommendation for ITALA to explore alternative banking models. This is critical to ensure the institution's sustainability in an ever-changing financial landscape. The IFP calls for an urgent action to make sure that ITALA remains a strong, viable entity for future generations. The IFP also pledges its support to the efforts of the FSA, the PA, and the KwaZulu-Natal provincial government to expedite the necessary processes to safeguard ITALA's future. We recognize that saving ITALA requires coordinated efforts and a commitment from all stakeholders involved. This means that ITALA must receive the support it deserves, including appropriate funding and structural reform, to remain competitive in the financial sector while continuing to serve its key role in the community. Honorable Chairperson, let me emphasize that the IFP fully supports the report and the recommendations of the committee on the oversight visit to ITALA. The committee's findings highlight the critical need to address ITALA's financial challenges and support its transformation into a more sustainable and modern institution. In conclusion, Honorable Chairperson, we stand behind the recommendation that ITALA continue to explore alternative banking models, and we urge the FSA, the PA, and the KZN government to act swiftly to save ITALA from any potential collapse. Let the concerned stakeholders spare no effort in saving this economic vehicle of the people of KwaZulu-Natal. ITALA elabantu, ITALA elethu, siyilo liyithi, save ITALA. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is from the Patriotic Alliance. If there's no speaker from the PA, I call the Honourable James from Action SA.
Speaker, it's Honourable Beasley speaking.
Thank you. Please proceed, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Chair and Honourable Members. Action SA recognises the vital role that ITALA has historically played in providing access to financial services and insurance to the poor and marginalised people, particularly to those based in KZN who have limited access to these services from traditional players in the market. Notwithstanding the historical role that ITALA has played, it is imperative that keeping ITALA operating does not come at a huge cost to the fiscus and does not place depositors' funds at risk. Currently, ITALA is making financial losses which continue to increase and are not sustainable. In the past 3 years, ITALA's financial losses have increased from 50 million to 90 million. At the same time, the injection of capital by its shareholder, the provincial government, is reducing. In the last 3 years, the capital introduced has decreased from 65 million to 51 million. The failure to match the financial losses is resulting in legitimate solvency concerns by the regulatory authorities. ITALA needs a massive capital injection by the shareholder. Recently, in response to a question by Action SA to the Deputy Minister of Finance in the National Assembly, the Deputy Minister stated that neither the KZN government nor National Treasury will inject any capital to ensure ITALA is adequately capitalized. Speaker, at the heart of the matter is the protection of depositors' funds. Many depositors come from poor and vulnerable communities, and as such, it is imperative that the depositors are protected. In this regard, Action SA supports the actions taken by the regulatory authorities to protect depositors. As a country, we cannot have another VBS. Chair, I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Is there a speaker from the ACDP? The UDM? BOSA? ATM? NCC? UAT? PAC? Good. And then the ANC, the Honourable Sekwati.
Thank you. Am I audible, Honorable Chair? Hello, Honorable Chair?
You are audible,
Am I
honorable member.
audible?
Yes, you may continue.
Thank you. Good morning, Honorable Chair, my honorable colleagues that are connected to the platform. The ANC is deeply concerned about the slow pace of the transformation of the financial sector, which exacerbates inequality. Transformation of the financial sector is one of the fundamental enablers of transforming a capitalist system to enable an equitable distribution of assets and income. It's a common cause that the financial sector in South Africa is concentrated within the largest 4 banks out of a total of 88 commercial banks, controlling 83% of deposits. As we debate this report, Honorable Chair, we should remember that Itala serves particularly the working class and poor who are not financially included due to Itala's roots date back to the establishment of Itala Development Finance Corporation in 1958, which is now wholly owned by the province of KwaZulu-Natal government. Itala operates 38 physical branches across KwaZulu-Natal, and one of the key commitments of the ANC is to empower the provinces to establish their own financial institutions. And in this regard, we must take all possible measures to protect Itala. One of its unique offerings is providing home financing on communal land, which constitutes about 1% of Itala's loan book. The exclusion of leveraging communal property by commercial banks is one of the major barriers to entry for South Africans living in communal land in the rural areas. It is for this reason that makes the defunct VPS Mutual Bank one of the most transformative financial institutions for many residents in the Bembe area in Limpopo province, as they provide home financing on communal land. Despite Itala's recently facing profitability challenges with a recent 92 million loss in 2024, the financial institution constitutes to continue to have a relatively sufficient capital adequacy ratio at 14.7% in June 2024, just below the 15% requirement, while the liquidity ratio exceeds 5% requirement. This demonstrates its liquidity and ability to meet financial obligations in a situation of crisis. Key concerns on the performance of the bank are on cost-to-income ratio, which has consistently exceeded the 78% benchmark. Itala has 2.5 billion in deposits and is backed by 300 million guarantee from the provincial government in KwaZulu-Natal, which further strengthens the position and improves the security of depositor funds. The recent suspension of the financial services providers license by the Financial Sector Conduct Authority due to Itala's inability to meet the financial soundness requirement set by FSCA will have a detrimental impact as it cannot take new business. Itala operates under exemptions granted by the PA with the approval of the Minister of Finance as allowed by the Section 1, Subsection 1cc of the Banks Act. We believe as the ANC that Itala, the Prudential Authority, and the Financial Conduct Authority should prioritize out-of-court settlement on ongoing legal disputes. We have recommended a phased approach to develop and allow Itala gradually meet the financial soundness requirements, providing adequate time to secure the necessary capital and regularize its operations. We have recommended the legislative amendments to enable institutions like Itala to have a banking license so that we can continue to transform the financial landscape in this country. I thank you, and the ANC support the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Members, that concludes the debate on this item. We will now proceed to the consideration of the report of the Portfolio Committee on Police Oversight visit to the Philippi Training Academy in the Western Cape Province on the 20th of September, 2024. I now invite the Honourable Chairperson of the committee to introduce the report. The Honourable Cameron.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. I am struggling a little bit with signal. Just give me 1 second, please. Just trying to open that document. There we go. Sorry about that, Honourable Chairperson. Let me just switch on the camera again. There we go. Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Members, good morning. Today, I present to you the findings of the Portfolio Committee on Police's Oversight visit to the Philippi Training Academy just a few months ago. The report exposes severe challenges that really do undermine the integrity of this vital institution that is tasked with shaping the future of law enforcement. Our investigation at the Academy uncovered a disturbing picture, one of ongoing corruption, mismanagement of funds, and deplorable living conditions of trainees. These include mold-infested rooms, leaking sewage pipes, and non-functional geysers that have left trainees without hot water for almost a year. Adding to this, a lack of kitchen staff and maintenance has further deteriorated the facility's conditions, posing health and safety risks. Compounding these challenges are deeply troubling allegations of misconduct, including the appointment of unqualified personnel, a rape case involving a senior instructor, and reports of sexual harassment against female trainees. Such failures in leadership and recruitment not only harm the trainees, but also undermine public trust in the South African Police Service. And disturbingly, this week, we actually learned that more than a year after the Hawks began their inquiry into the Academy, investigation remains incomplete. Equally alarming is that SAP's internal audit of the Academy is still unfinished. And it's alleged that the Academy has not been audited in over 6 years. Its lack of progress raises serious questions about the enthusiasm of the Hawks and the SAPS leadership in pursuing accountability, and alarmingly, those implicated in financial mismanagement and corruption still have access to the Academy and even certain bank accounts that further perpetuates the culture of impunity. Despite these challenges, I believe there are opportunities for improvement, and our report clearly outlines these recommendations and include immediate infrastructure repairs, robust whistleblower protections, enhanced recruitment protocols, and thorough review of leadership at the Academy. Addressing these systemic failures requires urgency, transparency, and accountability. So, honourable members, the Philippi Training Academy is not an isolated case. It reflects a broader systemic issue that SAPS must confront. The Police Portfolio Committee, we will continue to monitor the progress and hold all stakeholders accountable to ensure meaningful change. This institution and others like it must fulfill their mandate of training a professional, ethical police service worthy of public trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Muela.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Greetings to all honourable members in the platform. As part of our oversight work, the Portfolio Committee on Police undertook an oversight visit to the Philippi Police Training Academy to assess and receive briefing on a number of issues that affect the Academy and the Police Training Academy nationwide. Key amongst the engagement between the Portfolio Committee and the SAPS includes the briefing by the SPS on the investigation relating to criminal and corruption activities that are allegedly taking place in the Academy. Secondly, Honourable Chair, the Portfolio Committee received briefing on the vacancy rate within the Academy and the impact of such vacancies, as well as measures to address the challenges of trainers shortage. Also, the assessment and briefing on the sexual harassment and rape cases that are alleged to have taken place in the Academy. This also includes measures undertaken by the SAPS to investigate and take actions in relation to sexual harassment and rape cases. We also made an assessment on the state of the facilities in the Academy, especially conditions of the living spaces for trainees, as well as the kitchen. This also included the assessment of whether the facilities in the Academy and the living spaces are within acceptable levels of occupational health and safety standards. We also received briefing on the allegations relating to corruption in the supply chain management environment. We are deeply concerned about the state of affairs at the academy. Firstly, the shortage of training facilities at the academy is of serious as that impact on the training of the new recruits. Access to the outer by the trainees is also too satisfactory. We are also concerned about the impact of budget deficiencies affecting the added. This requires urgent attention by the department within its engagements with the National Treasury. We reiterate that the police should prioritize the whistleblower protection to ensure that people are free to come forward with information of corruption, maladministration, and sexual harassment that may take place in the academy. We reiterate the recommendation of the portfolio committee that all facilities within the academy must meet the occupational health and safety standards. We also urge the department to update the training curriculum to reflect current parties and needs. There must be improvements of infrastructure for training environment. The emphasis is on the agent need to review unfilled vacancies within the intention of filling such vacancies. The police should finalize all the reported allegations of corruption and sexual harassment in the training academy. The ANC support the oversight visit report of the portfolio committee to the Philippi Police Training Academy. I thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Schikkerling.
Good morning, House Chairperson and Honourable Members. Thank you very much. The Philippi Training College has been plagued by corruption and maladministration for several years. The fact that we are discussing this matter today in the House shows how little has been done to address this. It is beyond understanding that a training institution that should be producing well-trained, disciplined officers who will lead the cause of fighting crime and corruption are produced by a training college with a cloud hanging over its head. We urgently call on the SAPS to intervene in the collapse of the Philippi Police College and conclude the investigation into these disturbing allegations involving staff misconduct, substandard training, mistreatment of female recruits, alleged theft of stolen ammunition, and criminal behavior among police trainees that was initiated in March 2023 already. The department must provide the development and implementation of strong protocols to safeguard witness confidentiality during investigations, protecting individuals who provide critical information from retaliation is a fundamental responsibility. Regular training for personnel on the importance of maintaining confidentiality is necessary to this effort. Only by doing so can we create an environment where people can feel secure in coming forward without fear or consequence. This also encourages normal citizens to come forward about corruption as they see how whistleblowers are protected, instilling trust and confidence back into the police. The overall decline of the college is deeply concerning, Chairperson. Our recent oversight visit points to weak and corrupt management as a key factor between the deterioration of this critical institution. The maintenance of the premises and cleanliness of the kitchen leaves a lot to be desired. The degradation of this institution demands urgent attention. While the larger issue of policing reform remains a priority, SAPS must act now to address the immediate problems leading to the downfall of the Police Training College. Poor training, questionable management, and criminal conduct emanating from this academy are intolerable. Several female recruits have accused SAPS members of sexual harassment last year, and a trainer was recently charged with rape and subsequently fired. The situation in Philippi must be brought to an end, and the college must be restored to a place of integrity and excellence in training for our future officers. Turning to the training environment itself, Chairperson, the department must ensure that the curriculum is regularly reviewed and updated to reflect the latest best practices and meet the evolving needs of policing. We must equip our officers with the skills and knowledge they need to effectively serve and protect our communities. Furthermore, the infrastructure at the training academy must be assessed and improved. The adequacy of the training facilities must be regularly evaluated, and proactive steps must be taken to ensure that they meet the needs of the trainees. Basic amenities such as hot water and laundry facilities are not a luxury, Chairperson, but a priority. Cleanliness is fundamental, and investment into proper laundry facilities is non-negotiable. The kitchen staff levels must be increased to manage daily operations and cleaning duties effectively. A well-run clean kitchen ensures that the trainees are provided with nutritious meals, supporting their health and readiness for the challenges ahead. Furthermore, the department must establish a dedicated facilities management team to ensure the continuous upkeep and rapid response to reported issues. Facilities must meet occupational health and safety standards, and there should be no room to compromise for this. Furthermore, the department must ensure that psychometric testing is used effectively during recruitment to ensure that candidates meet the psychological and ethical standards required for policing. The integrity of the police service is built on the strength of its recruits, and these assessments are key to identifying those who are the most suited to uphold the law impartially and fairly. In conclusion, Chairperson, the department must take immediate and comprehensive action on these matters to ensure that we create a safer, more efficient, and more transparent police service. It is not just about maintaining standards, it is about setting new ones. We must invest in our people, our infrastructure, and our processes to build a police service that South Africans can trust and rely on. These actions are essential for the future of policing in our country. We must ensure that public trust and confidence in the SAPS is restored as a matter of urgency, and that we create an enabling environment where young boys and girls can once again dream of becoming police officers and looking after their families in their country. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is from the MK Party. If there's no speaker from MK, I call upon the EFF.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chairperson, a police training academy should be an embodiment of an institution that upholds the rule of law, thus instills the echoes of good governance, accountability, transparency, respect for human dignity and justice. And what we have found at the training academy in Philippi was contrary to this ideal. What we found as the committee was deeply disturbing in what trainees are subjected to uninhabitable living conditions with no running hot water for months during the unforgiving freezing winter of Cape Town. What was more alarming and shocking, House Chair, was to find a moldy room with a dilapidated and severely damaged ceiling occupied by a trainee. Being exposed to mold and an environment that does not meet health and safety standards can result in all sorts of health complications. Had it not been for the intervention of the committee, that poor trainee would have still been exposed to those inhumane conditions. It is disheartening that what was supposed to be called a library in that academy is a room full of desktop computers not working, and half these computers had no chairs and keyboards and mouses. On particularly concerned, House Chair, it is the sexual harassment and a rape case involving a senior instructor, a sergeant who is accused of stealing these 3 magazines from the shooting range, unaccounted mismanagement of funds since 2018, lack of consequence management, abuse of state resources, ongoing corruption, slow pace of investigating those who are implicated, and many other anomalies. This situation, Chair, is a tip of the iceberg, which is much bigger because it uncovers the rot that lies within the surface in the South African Police Service. It brings to our attention the fact that police officers who no longer serve this country with conscience, but are here to simply maintain their lifestyles at the expense of other people. These inhumane conditions affect on the kind and caliber of quality of members of the South African Police Service that we get. The academy's kitchen is unsatisfactory with freezers that are not working. That also affects the health conditions that can be exposed to these trainees. We agree with this report that there must be serious investigations that are put in, and that the Department of Police, together with Public Works, because seemingly in what we have found as the committee is that Public Works was aware and is still aware of the conditions that the academy is in. And we know that it is not just the Philippi Academy. Many other academies are still challenged with the infrastructure challenges that are facing them that are beyond the Department of Police. And we then now call on the Department of Public Works to prioritize these academies, because these are facilities that have got a responsibility of producing the best of the best men and women in blue that are supposed to take care and service this country. We accept this report. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Nkosi Tebekulu.
Thank you, as Chairperson or members. Now, allow me to have my camera off.
You may proceed, Nkosi.
House Chairperson, the IFP's assessment of this report is grounded in the understanding that Training Academy plays a vital role in equipping police officers to fulfill their constitutional mandate, which is preventing, combating, and investigating crime, maintaining public order, protecting the people and property of the Republic, and uphold the law. The IFP is deeply alarmed by the deplorable state of the Philippi Training Academy in the Western Cape. It is particularly disheartening that the institution responsible for training police officers is itself under investigation for criminal and corrupt activities. This troubling situation may stem from a lack of effective leadership within the academy, yet this does not excuse the significant and ongoing mismanagement of funds, which has remained unaccounted for since 2018. The IFP is appalled and outraged to learn of a disturbing instance of sexual harassment and a reported rape involving a training instructor at the academy. This underscores a grim reality repeatedly voiced by South African women, that they feel unsafe in all spaces, even those meant to uphold justice. It is imperative that those implicated be placed on precautionary suspension while investigations proceed, ensuring accountability and prioritizing the safety of all involved. The IFP, in consideration of this issue we have raised, we accept the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The PA. The Honourable James from Action SA.
Speaker, it's Honourable Beasley here again. I'll be speaking on behalf of Honourable James. Can I switch my video off, Chair?
Yes, you may proceed, Honourable Member.
Thank you. Speaker, mismanagement, fraud, abuse of appropriated funds, and sexual offences seems to be the running order at this academy. Following the oversight visit, several attempts were made to bring to book those responsible for bringing this department into disrepute. Almost 3 months later, and we are still playing cat and mouse, irrespective of the blatant and clear evidence. It is clear that this department has no appetite to expose their own. As Action SA, we see that looting resources meant for the most vulnerable members of our society has become an integral part of this government's modus operandi. To the GNU government, South Africans are watching, and we expect nothing less than tangible action and fight against corruption. Speaker, as Action SA, we support this report with great concerns, and as Honourable James would say, so kan dit nie aangaan nie. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Is there a speaker from the ACDP, UDM, Bausa, ATM, Al-Jamaa?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Chairperson, I see you have jumped me.
No, Honourable Member, I've not jumped you. I'm following the speakers list that is here in front of me. According to this speakers list, your name is still coming up.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Honourable Ghana. Thank you,
Please
Speaker.
proceed, Honourable Sali.
Honourable Speaker, Philippi is one of several areas in the Western Cape that faces a rising crime rate such as murders, hijackings, robberies, and of course extortion. Business people who refuse to pay the so-called protection fees are mercilessly killed. Not only are local business affected, but service delivery, removal. Although the area has neighborhood watches, they are ill-equipped to deal with the violent and gun-wielding criminals. Looking at the report on the state of the Philippi Academy, one cannot believe that an institution geared to train future policemen and women who must one day protect citizens in this country is plagued by corruption, mismanagement, and other criminal activities. It is further shocking to know that a female trainee was raped by a trainer and others have reported sexual harassment. Have the perpetrators been dealt with? The sergeant who stole 3 magazines from a shooting range must face the full might of the law, and he must state to which gang he sold the magazines to. The condition of living quarters and the kitchen are appalling. It is unacceptable that future police officers are forced to endure training under such challenging circumstances. Is this how we value our future police officers who are expected to sacrifice their lives to protect us? They are not yet police officials, but are being exposed to criminal activities at the academy. There should be a great concern as to why the high current vacancy trainers at other academies throughout the country. There must be effective oversight at all academies, and the lack of resources must be fully addressed. Though Al-Jamaa supports the report, we need to ensure accountability and responsibility in this particular matter. I thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Speaker from the NCC.
Am I audible, Speaker?
Please
Chair,
proceed,
am I
Honourable
audible?
Member. You may. Yeah,
Thank
you are
you, Chair.
audible, but can you please switch off your video, please?
I will happily do so.
Thank you.
Chairperson, it is with concern that we note the happenings at the Philippi College. I could not make the oversight visit, as everybody knows my wife was sick at the time. But Chairperson, I didn't need to be there because we've all heard the horror stories. As you enter the gates, you will see that at the Philippi College, there are hardly any colored people working there, any colored constables being trained there. From the offset, everything is wrong. Now, when we hear about underqualified and people operating with fraudulent qualifications working at this facility, is it a wonder, Speaker, when the head of crime intelligence in this country does not have a valid security clearance? In the previous minister's term, on the 31st of October, 2023, the Inspector General of Intelligence submitted a report confirming this. It is right there, and that report has never been brought here. Now, when I say to you, sir, that when female officers will one day be tasked with protecting females are exposed to rape and gender-based violence, is it not a concern that there's a rumor that the Bloemfontein Mafia, which runs the South African Police Service, guarantees that no female will progress to a high rank without doing certain favors? We support this report, but with grievous concern. Excuse me, Chairperson, I wish to point out to you that the number 2 of crime intelligence has no valid security clearance as she has failed a polygraph. This is a state of SAPS, and it is in total collapse by all of these Bheki appointments, and I hope the Minister takes note of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Adams. The UAT, the PAC, good. Rice, Honourable Ghana.
Thanks very much, Chairperson. Kansasunenum Tramastul, Kansabnikwankar. Iri bandara Rise, Zanzi. Iseketela HP Kosha Committee. Loko Langtangofu Makaya Philippi Training Academy. So the reason we support this report, and we have committed as a portfolio committee, that this is one of the matters that we are not going to let go, is because it is of interest and utmost importance to ourselves as Rising Zanzibar, but more so to the people of South Africa, that the first impression that we give to the new recruits in the South African Police Service must be a good one. Those that have expressed an interest to be policemen and women must feel from the first moment they enter through the gates of every training academy that this is an institution that is serious in protecting and saving the people of this country. Unfortunately, as the report indicates, what is happening in Philippi does not inspire confidence. And it is something that we have as a committee, but also, as Rising Zanzibar said, that we need to get right,
Because if we don't look after the policemen and women who are supposed to protect us, then we demoralize them from the word go. And the incidents and issues of corruption, maladministration there have to be attended to. And this is a project that ourselves as Rising Mzansi in the Portfolio Committee will support until justice for those ones is served, but also the ones that have been found to have committed acts of corruption, maladministration, they face also the full might of the South African police law.
Thank you, Honourable Member. And I now call upon the Honourable Kluti from the ANC to close this debate.
Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Speaker, I have my hand raised. When you mentioned MK Party, there was a problem here with the audio. I could not link in, but I've now managed to get through. Will you allow us the opportunity to respond?
Now, what I will do is, Honourable Reddy, I will ask the Honourable Kluti just to wait with his input on this matter, and I will recognize you now to make the input on behalf of MK. Is that fine?
Thank you very much. Honourable Chairperson, the MK Party expresses its deep condemnation and disgust at the findings in the report on the oversight visit to the Philippi Training Academy in the Western Cape. This report lays bare the chronic neglect and mismanagement that plague an institution critical to ensuring the safety of our citizens. In a country that's ravaged by crime, the inadequacy of training facilities for our police force is a betrayal of the people's trust. The academy is meant to produce officers equipped to protect our communities, yet it is evident that resources are either misallocated or entirely absent. This failure leaves our law enforcement officers underprepared and our citizens vulnerable. The MK Party finds it unacceptable that this government continues to pay lip service to combating crime while allowing institutions like the Philippi to fall into disrepair. We demand immediate intervention and accountability for the decay exposed in this report. South Africans deserve a police force that is adequately trained, equipped, and supported, and not one hindered by government neglect. Chairperson, the MK Party will continue to hold this government accountable, and we will express our plans of doing that on the 15th of December at the Moses Mabhida Stadium, where millions of South Africans are going to be watching our President Jacob Zuma outline MK's plan to change South Africa for the better. I thank you.
Honourable Reddy, are you still there?
Yes, I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Member. The last speaker is the Honourable Kluti. Is the Honourable Kluti on the platform?
Yes, our Chairperson, thank you. The Portfolio Committee on Police has conducted an oversight visit to the Philippi Police Training Academy. To the oversight visit, the Portfolio Committee was briefed about concerning matters that are taking place in the training academy. This includes the allegation of corruption as it relates to the use of the state account, the allegation of corruption by some members of the management of the academy, allegations of sexual harassment, the living condition of the trainees as it relates to the living condition, the occupational health and safety standards of the academy, as well as the allegations of maladministration. Following the oversight visit to the Department of Police, have made presentations before the Portfolio Committee to account the allegations. We note the response of the subs and the DPCI to the Portfolio Committee in response to the allegations. Also note the undertaking by the Department of Police as part of the management to ensure that those who are accused of wrongdoing are taken to disciplinary process to account for their actions. We also note that the PCI conducted an investigation with regard to allegation of criminal acts that may have occurred at the academy. In the same, we commend the Department of Health undertaking internal disciplinary process to ensure compliance with the law and regulations amongst the police personnel. We note findings of the both disciplinary and criminal investigation process by both police and the PCI. Our call is that we encourage anyone with information come forward to ensure that we uproot any form of maladministration, so harassment that might be happening in the academy. But play our oversight role to ensure that we monitor the state of the Philippi Police Training Academy and all academies nationally to ensure that they operate at the level that they should. We are concerned about the loss of magazines which may be used by criminals in their activities to include murder and of innocent lives. We urge the Department of Police to closely monitor the situation of police training academy in general and the Philippine Police Training Academy in particular. The ANC stands in support of the oversight of the portfolio of police on the Philippine Police Training Academy. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, that concludes the debate. I now want to hand over to the House Chairperson Horn, who will preside over the third order. Honourable Horn.
Thank you, Honourable Frolick. Good morning from my side to all members. Honourable members, the last item on our order paper is the consideration of the report of the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training on the 2023-2024 fourth quarter and the 2024-2025 first quarter financial and non-financial performance of the Department of Higher Education and Training. To introduce the report, I now recognize the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Philippi.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson Horn. I rise to table and support the adoption of the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education on its report on the consideration of the Department of Higher Education and Training 23-24 fourth quarter and 24-25 first quarter expenditure and non-financial performance reports. Let me hasten to say that on the 18th of September 2024, the committee convened a meeting with the department to assess how it has spent the fund this August House has voted for, and the progress made towards achieving the annual performance plan target. The Portfolio Committee on Higher Education takes in-year monitoring and assessment of the department's performance very seriously. During the 2024 fourth quarter, the department achieved 54% of the plan targets. This is not satisfactory performance given that the department spent 99% of its projected quarterly budget. The committee has raised concerns about this underachievement. The department considered that more needs to be done to achieve more. We have seen improvements in the performance in the 24-25 first quarter, where the department achieved 80% of the planned targets. During the 2023 State of the Nation address, His Excellency the President, Mr. Ramaphosa, directed that government should prioritize the economic empowerment of women through directing 40% of public procurement to women-owned businesses. Whilst this target was not achieved in the fourth quarter of 23-24, the department has worked hard to achieve 41.7% in the first quarter of 24-25 financial year. The department has also directed 69.18% of its procurement to small, medium, and macro enterprises and 86% to Black-owned businesses, and exceeded the target in terms of youth-owned businesses. I'm pleased to report that the department paid 100% of valid invoices received from creditors within the stipulated 30 days. This will go a long way in supporting our economy and ensuring the sustainability of SMMEs. Honorable members, expanding access to higher education is critical to contributing towards the knowledge economy and improving the skills pool of the country. The department has completed the concept design for the construction of 2 new universities, which were approved by the DG for implementation. We're looking forward to seeing the construction work of the 2 new universities. This project will create several jobs for our citizens. The completion of the comprehensive student funding model for post-school education and training is also welcome. This will ensure that students who fall outside the 350,000 rands threshold will be funded through a loan scheme. We do note the capacity and system challenges that NSFAS is facing in implementing the Middle loan scheme. Honorable Chair, in supporting the country's plan towards sustainable clean energy sources, the department has developed and approved a report on the identifications of skills needed for the hydrogen economy. We hope that such skills will be offered in our institutions, especially TVET colleges. The committee is deeply concerned about the delay in filling vacancies as it has contributed to inadequate human resource capabilities and underperformance. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on Program 5, Skills Development Target. It was reported that employers are not taking up high numbers of learners due to limitations as a result of the after effects of the pandemic. The committee will continue to monitor progress in the implementation of the report recommendations. I table this report for adoption from all political parties as they have in the committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Maseko of the DA.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. I also rise in support of committee's report on the department's 2023-2024 quarter and 2024-2025 first quarter performances. It is critical that we reflect on the gaps that continue to undermine access to quality education for millions of South African students. One of the chronic troubling issues we face is the growing burden of the student debt. While many students come from historically disadvantaged backgrounds, they are burdened with loans they struggle to repay after graduation. The challenge is that the entire puzzle is flawed, and we seem to be trying to build a new picture with old puzzle pieces, the consequences of which is tertiary institutions refusing to release the certificates of completion due to outstanding debts. This practice exacerbates the cycle of poverty, preventing graduates from accessing job opportunities that could allow them to repay their debts. We must ask ourselves, how can we expect our youth to contribute meaningfully to the economy if they are prevented from entering the workforce because of a financial barrier? It is important that we reform the management of student debt, not just in terms of how it's administered, but also in how we support students who find themselves on the brink of financial exclusion. Universities must adopt more flexible policies for students with outstanding debts, and we must find sustainable ways to offer debt relief to those most in need. Equally concerning, House Chair, is the state of infrastructure at many of our institutions. Some of our universities and technical colleges across country have dilapidated buildings that are not conducive to learning, with the infrastructure in rural areas being the worst affected. Therefore, investment in infrastructure is in our tertiary institutions must be prioritized. This includes not only physical infrastructure like classrooms and libraries, but also digital infrastructure so that students have access to online learning tools. House Chair, equally so, we cannot ignore the rising cost of higher education. While the National Student Financial Aid Scheme has played an important role in addressing financial barriers for students from low-income households, the reality is that the cost of education continues to outpace inflation, and many students still struggle to make ends meet. The so-called missing middle, those households who earn too much to qualify for NSFAS but too little to afford the full cost of higher education, remains a significant concern. These families are left in a precarious position where they are effectively excluded from accessing the benefits of higher education. The missing middle represents a growing group of South African students who are being sidelined by a financial system that does not adequately account for their needs. As a nation, we must find a way to support these students, whether through targeted grants, subsidized loans, or other mechanisms so that no South African student is left behind simply because they don't fit into the existing financial aid structures. While NSFAS has done commendable work in addressing the needs of poor and working class students, it is clear that the system is not without its flaws. There have been ongoing reports on delays in the disbursement of funds, mismanagement, and bureaucratic inefficiencies that delay students' access to financial support when they need it most. These delays exacerbate also the challenges students face, leading to disruptions in their education and increased risk of dropouts. It is essential that NSFAS is better resourced and managed so that it can more efficiently meet the needs of students, but financial support cannot be the only focus. We must also hold universities accountable for better management of their resources in providing the necessary support system for their students. And in conclusion, House Chair, this report highlights the deep challenges of our systems and needs urgent decisive action on issues such as student debt, the withholding of certificates, inadequate infrastructure, and the exclusion of the missing middle. We must ensure that every South African student has access to the education they deserve and that they are not burdened by the financial barriers that limit their future. I thank you.
Thank you. Is there a speaker representing the MK in this debate?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. I'm here.
Please continue, Honorable Ngubane.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. As the committee has discussed and identified the shortcomings from the Department of Higher Education on its reporting on the 2023-24 fourth quarter and 2024-25 first quarter financial and non-financial performance report. The funding of NSFAS is a threat to the country again. The need for more and more funding is growing as the number of students entering institutions of higher learning is also growing and the demand for accommodation is not being addressed adequately. The mismanagement of NSFAS fund keeps rearing its ugly head. The NSFAS seems to not being in touch with what's actually happening at universities and TVET colleges. They seem to think they know and understand the problems of students, and when we inquire with the NSFAS officials, they look clueless when responding to the needs of students through NSFAS. As well, the missing middle is a challenge that is still in limbo perpetually. We must solve this mystery, as it is a cause for concern where it leaves some other students not known who is going to fund them. The institutions like Mersita that has failed to submit its financials for scrutiny, as well as the University of Fort Hare and other institutions, make our responsibility of financial scrutiny for these institutions unclear. The committee needs to take a hard stance on institutions that fail to meet the deadline of accountability to the committee. The University of Limpopo, with its vice chairperson and chairperson of the council that think it is their birthright to lead, they want to lead from the grave. Needs to be attended to, and the committee needs to save this university from these elders. The NSF will a challenge. These institutions needs a closer look from the committee's accountability, responsibility. The lack of strategy by the department to embark on a decolonized education and curriculum is missing completely from this department. There is no attempt whatsoever, which means the department has no appetite to see our students getting introduced to decolonized history, science, engineering, and other educational streams of decolonized education. This alone will keep the number of students graduating from heavy subjects like science and mathematics very low. It will also confine the production of students who are imperialist and colonizers' dependency, continuing perpetually. The issue of economic independence will never be addressed with this kind of attitude. The relationship between executives of institutions of higher learning and their unions, worker representatives, counterpart keeps being strained in almost all universities. Remained under 10% is worrisome. This target should be at least under 0%, and the department must strive to reach that. The meeting and exceeding of public procurement spend on Black-owned businesses is appreciated, as well as payment of valid invoices within 30 days at 100% is also appreciated. To have a target not achieved, be women, youth and people with disability in business is a shame, coming from the department that is supposed to be part of driving the transformational agenda. The department must be ashamed for this failure. And to appropriate and to apportion the underspending of Program 1 administration to an excuse of vacant posts that were not filled in time due to the delays in the processing of a high number of applicants is also a shame. The department needs to start taking seriously the crisis of unemployment rate in the country. Even if it's 1%, we need this target to be at least under 0 as well. On Program 2, planning, policy and strategy, a plan for the integration of information system used in the PSET sector. This is a good and excellent. MK reject this report, and we invite all people to come.
No, thank you, Honorable Ngubane. You can only do that if you have time left.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Is there a speaker representing the EFF in this debate?
Yes, House Chair. Chair, we note the report on the Portfolio Committee of Higher Education and Training and its assessment of the fourth quarter of 2023-2024 and the first quarter of financial, non-financial performance. A constructive reflection we would have expected from the report is whether or not the department knows the total number of available spaces in post-secondary education against the total number of learners who are to pass the grade 12 on an annual basis. In other words, Chair, is our post-secondary education inclusive of universities, TVET colleges, skill development and community education and training centers able to absorb each and every learner that passes matric? The data is there historically that over the years, the department has failed to absorb and create space for all learners that come from matric. For example, now we already know that there is an odd 882,000 students who are currently writing their matric exams. When at least beyond 80% of them pass, do we have a guarantee that the post-secondary education sector will be able to absorb all of that? And we felt that the report was silent on that, and that's a great cause for concern. We concur with the committee that the department spends about 99% of its appropriation, yet it still fails to meet its own targets. It does not place the targeted number of unemployed TVET students in the workplaces. For example, it places 14,408 against a target of 20,000. It targeted 149,000 learners to be registered in skills development programs, and it only registered 65,000. That's less than 50%. So these are just a few examples of the department's inability to meet its own key performance indicators, which is another grade for concern. House Chair, we're also concerned, like the other members have reflected, that this report does not reflect on one of the most pressing challenges facing students in institutions of higher learning in South Africa, which is student debt. The plight of student debt continues to be a massive barrier and hindrance to the graduation outputs of South Africa in institutions of higher learning. In the coming weeks, Chair, we will be presenting the EFF Private Members Bill on student debt cancellation to this House to affirm our commitment to the many young people in South Africa who are faced with two undesirable scenarios. The first scenario is to begin their work lives with huge sums of debt, which imprisons them in a permanent cycle of debt for the rest of their lives. The second scenario is for them to remain jobless and economically inactive as their qualifications are withheld by tertiary institutions because of that. We agree with the member that it's counterintuitive. It makes no sense for universities and TVET colleges and institutions to withhold the certificates and degrees of students under the guise that they owe the universities money or rather debt. How are these students supposed to get employment opportunities if they don't have their certificates? So in other words, they're never going to be able to pay back this money. So as a matter of principle, before we can even engage in the discussion of student debt, I don't know why this government can't just say, make a decree to say each and every institution of higher learning in South Africa, whether a student owes you money or not, release all the degrees, release all the certificates so that these students can get, access to employment opportunities, and those who can will be able to pay. So we're going to be presenting those arguments, House Chair, to this House so that we can test the political willingness of the so-called GNU government, or rather government of criminal unity, in terms of how it wants to invest in the future of South Africa. So we know the report, Chair, we've shared our reflections on it, and that's the presentation from the EFF. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is the Honorable Hadebe of the IFP.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson. The IFP's evaluation of this report is rooted in the recognition that higher education and training is a vital service regarded by the NDP as a strategic pillar of national development. Given the substantial portion of the national budget allocated to this sector, it is imperative that its performance be closely monitored. Higher education represents an investment in the nation's future, and how the department manages its allocation will provide valuable insight into the effectiveness of that investment. Recognizing the significance of the department, the IFP acknowledges with appreciation that 99.9% of its allocated funds were utilized. However, the department's achievement of only 41 out of 76 target is deeply concerning. This discrepancy between expenditure and performance highlights a critical issue. While funds are being spent, they are neither effectively nor efficiently utilized, untimely failing to deliver value for money. Considering the department's crucial role in the NDP, it is troubling that only 46% of the targets under the program responsible for strategic leadership management and support services were achieved. The IFP wishes to reaffirm its concerns regarding the department's expenditure in relation to its performance outcomes. In conclusion, Honorable House Chairperson, in considering of the issues we have raised, the IFP, however, accepts the report. I thank you.
Thank you. Is there a speaker representing the PA in this debate? If not, then I recognize the Honorable Kolbe of Action SA.
Thank you so much, House Chair. Action SA has continuously raised alarm about rising graduate unemployment, where over the past year, the unemployment rate for university graduates increased from 8.5 in Q3 2023 to 9.8 in Q3 2024. Evidently, this trend signals deep systemic challenges in our higher education, training, and sector. It is therefore unsurprising that the report on the Department of Higher Education and Training highlights significant inefficiencies. Most alarmingly, despite spending 99.9% of its budget on the 2023-24 fourth quarter, only 54% of performance targets were achieved. Honorable Chair, let us not beat around the bush. If this were any other department, heads would be on the chopping block for such dismal performance. The report also indicates that skills development initiatives are falling short. Only 107,000 learners were placed in workplace-based programs, missing the target and leaving many graduates without practical experience. In the TVET sector, declining completion rates for native qualifications and delays in issuing diplomas are eroding students' employability. This is yet another embarrassing indictment on the department's ongoing failures. And to my surprise, Chair, I'm disturbed to have read that resistance from some universities to account further exacerbates these challenges, where some universities are under the illusion that institutional autonomy somehow can undermine public responsibility. This crisis demands urgent intervention. We must ensure that vacancies in the department are filled without delay, that skills development programs align with industry needs, and that accountability is strengthened across all institutions. Graduate unemployment is a national emergency, Chair, and failure to act now will have lasting consequences. We do support the report. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you. Is there a speaker representing the ACDP in this debate? The UDM? BOSA? The ATM? Al-Jamaa? The NCC? The UIT? The PIC? Good. If not, then I now recognize the Honorable Governor of the ANC.
Honorable Chairperson, this report serves not only as an analysis of financial strategies, but also as a clear demonstration of unwavering commitment to promoting economic stability across the higher education sector. We recognize that enhancing public services is crucial for well-being of our communities, and that of the fiscal policies must be thoughtfully crafted to meet the evolving needs of our citizens. Additionally, it is essential that we ensure that higher education sector is adequately supported, as it plays a vital role in preparing future leaders and innovators. By aligning our financial decisions with these priorities, we can create a sustainable economic environment that benefits the economy. This report serves as an essential tool for comprehensively evaluating the effectiveness of the department in delivering high-quality education and training to our youth, an endeavor that is crucial for fostering sustainable national development. The findings indicate that for the 2023-2024 financial year, the department received a substantial financial appropriation of 130.254 billion. Notable that the department reported an impressive expenditure rate of 99.9%, reflecting a strong commitment to utilizing allocated funds for their intended purposes. However, despite this high level of financial commitment, there are significant concerns regarding the actual performance outcomes achieved during the same period. The report reveals that only 53.9% of the planned performance targets were successfully met in the fourth quarter. This apparent disconnect between the amount spent and the results achieved raises important questions about the overall effectiveness of the department strategies and initiatives. Moreover, the findings reveal that several critical areas experience notable underspending, particularly in employee compensation. This underspending was largely attributed to unfilled vacancies within the department, which not only affects staffing levels, but also undermines the department's ability to carry out its functions effectively. Additionally, delays in the key infrastructure development projects further exacerbate these challenges, hindering the department's capacity to deliver timely and effective educational and training services. These issues effectively highlight serious concerns regarding the department's human resource capacity, operational efficiency, and overall effectiveness in achieving its goals. It is imperative for the department to address these shortcomings to enhance its performance and better fulfill its mandate for the benefit of youth and national development. The committee report presents two key recommendations that we wholeheartedly endorse. The first recommendation pertains to the urgent need to fill vacancies within the department. The establishment of a 0% vacancy rate should be regarded as a strategic objective, as this will significantly enhance operational capacity and ensure the effective implementation of departmental programs. The second recommendation advocates for comprehensive review of the planning processes to establish realistic and achievable targets. The ANC supports the principle and effective leadership within the department must incentivize staff to optimize their efficiency. Furthermore, the introduction of consequence management for underperformance will promote accountability and facilitate continuous improvement. These recommendations are aligned with the vision of developing a robust education system that addresses the needs of all South Africans, with particular attention to those from disadvantaged backgrounds. Honorable Chairperson, we acknowledge that education serves as a formidable catalyst for both social and economic advancement. The ANC strongly advocates for higher education programs that not only foster inclusivity, but also enhance accessibility, particularly for students hailing from historically marginalized communities who have faced numerous barriers in their educational journeys. We are heartened by the notable improvements reflected in the non-financial performance metrics from the first quarter of 2024-2025. The department has achieved an impressive 80% success rate across its targets, showcasing a commitment to excellency and promising trajectory for future growth. However, to sustain and build upon this progress, it is essential to address ongoing challenges such as high vacancy rates and planning inefficiencies in a timely manner. In addition, we must highlight critical importance of collaboration among universities, TVET colleges, and industry stakeholders. This partnership is necessary to ensure that educational programs are closely aligned with the evolving demands of the job market. By doing so, we can equip students with the necessary skills, knowledge that will enhance their employability and prepare them for successful careers in competitive landscape. We wish to reaffirm our unwavering support for the consideration of this important report. Furthermore, we encourage all stakeholders involved in higher education to actively collaborate and engage in meaningful debates aimed to achieving high-performing education system. This system must effectively meet the diverse needs of all South Africans, promoting equity and inclusivity. We are steadfast in our commitment to ensuring that all South Africans, regardless of their background, has access to quality education and comprehensive training opportunities. We recognize that the education is a vital cornerstone for personal and national development, and as such, we are dedicated to this pursuit. By working together, we can strive towards building a more prosperous and just future for our nation. Ensuring that our educational frameworks equip individuals with the necessary skills and knowledge to thrive in an involving global landscape. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, that concludes this debate and the business of this mini-plenary. This mini-plenary will now rise.
Long live the chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Long live GNU, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Phansi nge-GNU phansi.
Gwaza Mkhonto Gwaza.
Phansi nge-GNU phansi.
Phansi Progressive Alliance eprethendayo phansi.
Viva Progressive Alliance, viva.